Knowledge at Wharton here on Sirius XM 111 Business Radio, powered by the Wharton School. Our final 30 of the day. For a long time, when a company was looking to replace a CEO, they wanted to bring in somebody with a similar background to the person who was leaving, or at least had an understanding of the company or the industry. But there's a little bit of a shift going on. Companies now are looking outside of their own industries to bring in new execs. Mike Doonan is tracking this shift. He's a partner at executive search firm SPMB, and we welcome Mike into the show. Thank you.
Nice to be here.
So explain what really started this shift. I mean, because as I said, for a long time, companies thought, okay, well, somebody's leaving. He's, our chief tech officer. We need to get that perfect tech person in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I break the world up into two groups of companies. You have the companies that are the disruptors, and then you have the companies that are the disrupted. Mm-hmm. We do work with both. It's the disrupted companies that are the ones that are really starting to understand that they need to look outside of their industry to stay relevant, to stay alive, and to add more value.
They are understanding that because why?
In part, it's because of the knowledge that we bring to them.
Okay.
So if we're doing a search for a company, we will look at the industry in which the company operates. Mm-hmm. Chances are, if they want to move from being a disrupted company to a disruptor, there isn't going to be an executive within that market that can take them where they want to go. Mm-hmm. So, for example, Comcast. A couple of years ago, they came to me and said, we are a company that needs to evolve our business model to be to produce a service that is more easily consumed by our end user. And there's no one else in the cable market that is doing that right now. So yes, we can look there, but we're not going to find our answer. Therefore, we need to look outside of this market to find that kind of talent.
And they went and looked, and they found somebody that was in the gaming business to basically come in and handle that, correct?
Well, he was actually the CTO of Nike.
Oh, Nike. I'm sorry. That's right.
And I promised we were not looking at Nike for the head of product for Comcast. That would make any sense. But what we did is we looked at all of the adjacencies to cable. We looked at media. We looked at gaming. We probably looked at about 15 other industries. Yeah. And we backtracked 5 to 10 years and said, what were the companies that were in a market that were being disintermediated, and who were the ones that reinvented that market and created a massive amount of value? And one of those companies was Microsoft in gaming specifically. Yeah. So prior to Xbox, you had, and we probably all remember this, you had a $200 box from Sega Genesis or one of these companies. Yeah. You bought a $100 piece of plastic that you stuck into that box. That's right. And you had a one-to-one relationship with that box. Right. That was fine. People made money, but it was a commoditizing business. Right. Xbox came along and said, we're gonna change the entire value proposition where it's no longer a one-to-one relationship. It's a one-to-many. And the gaming world has been different ever since. Sure. And the person that we brought on to Comcast happened to be the person that figured that out, and then went on to other companies and did something similar. But that's generally how we go solve these problems. Is we say, what is the high level problem that you're trying to solve? What are the other markets that have had to think about this in a similar way? Right. And how do you apply those best practices to this company? So
in the case of Comcast, they wanted more for their consumers. So bring somebody out from outside of the industry to bring that in, because it's seemingly companies like Comcast and as you said, Apple, they want to have their own community. There's so many pieces to it, correct?
Yeah, and Comcast is, and the cable industry is just one example, but there are a lot of ways to solve the problem. A lot of times I get called, especially these days, to do chief digital officer searches. Mm-hmm. It's a word that's thrown around a lot. It's somewhat meaningless until you step back and you say, what is the business problem that we're trying to solve? In this case, it was, how do we make it easier for people to do business with us and to consume the content that we have on our back end? Yeah. That's a product problem. That has nothing to do with digital. You're just not thinking about the problem the right way. And if you do, the answer may be right in front of you.
Great to have you here. Thanks for coming in. Enjoy it. Mike Doonan, the company is SPMB. Great to have him here joining us, talk a little about hiring at the C-suite level.